Sedentary lifestyles. Yeah. It looks like coral. So they're not always too fond of being scooped up, but this big mama, she's the prettiest, I think. So just scoop her in there. And just watch, there might be some backsplash. But she was much more cooperative than I had anticipated. This guy. Yeah, alrighty. So axolotls, or Ambystoma mexicanum is the Latin name. They're also known commonly as Mexican walking fish. And they are the unofficial mascot of St. John's College. So, you know, being a non-traditional kind of liberal arts school, it only makes sense that we have a non-traditional mascot, one that doesn't have, you know, sharp teeth and claws. But they have some really interesting other capabilities that make them a model organism for scientific research and for the biology portion of our freshman lab tutorial here at St. John's. For instance, they're considered a neotenic organism, which means that they maintain their juvenile physiology into adulthood, you know, with the exception of an addition of arms and legs. So where a frog, for instance, starts as a tadpole after it hatches, these guys will hatch from eggs without arms and legs, but they'll have all of their external gills, and the rest of their body, the rest of their morphology is exactly the same as it is now.
So they look exactly the same.
Yeah.
Except they're just bigger.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So this pair here, they're full grown. So I don't know what that is, about
And you're saying
5 or 6 inches or so from nose to tail.
And you're saying that those that pink plumage is.
Those are their gills.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're technically a salamander, but unlike other salamanders who can live, or go back and forth from an aquatic environment to a terrestrial environment, these guys live strictly in an aquatic environment. The gills themselves are really interesting because under our stereoscope microscopes here, if you zoom in close enough, you can see individual blood vessels circulating, which is another cool thing, I guess, for freshman laboratory, because we do study Harvey's, what is it, on the circulation of...
On the motion of blood in the heart of man and animals,
yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah, so they're useful in that way. But their most, I think, remarkable quality is their regenerative capabilities. Let me see on either one of these guys if I can. So basically, if one of them loses an arm or a leg or a bit of their tail, it'll grow back almost perfectly. I don't think either of these two have suffered any trauma, but some of them in the other room have, because when they're juveniles, they go through what scientists call their cannibalistic stage. So they'll eat each other. So see her front left little hand there has fewer toes than the other guys in there.
Okay.
They grow back mostly intact. Just sometimes they're missing a digit or two. But they're still perfectly capable and viable organisms that way.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah. What's even more astounding, too, is that they can regenerate brain, spinal cord tissue, cranial tissue. So all kinds of experiments are being done in modern laboratories now, where scientists are trying to figure out how to translate their regenerative capabilities to maybe human medicine or something like that. That would be pretty wild. They have been found under certain circumstances, like really, really, really poor water chemistry, for instance, to completely adapt from this aquatic amphibian, this aquatic salamander, to a terrestrial salamander. Completely different species, too. So the tiger salamander, if you're familiar with it, looks completely different. It lacks those external gills, their funny hairdo. they're black and yellow compared to these guys. They don't require an aquatic environment, which is really wild. So I guess that's useful for the senior lab too, studying Darwin and, you know, the theory of evolution. You can literally see one of these animals metamorphose from an aquatic animal and crawl out of the water and live in a terrestrial environment. So, wow, it's insane.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So, I guess, you know, they're a non-traditional mascot, but seems like a pretty cool mascot in that they can regenerate limbs and adapt to whatever environment.
Like we can generate too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, I have an extra toe after having come to St. John's. I'm joking, but yeah, they're a really cool animal.